Today, testing, best manufacturing practices, scheduling, WBS, leadership and ethics, and then there's a bonus round. Now, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but those quizzes that you have, you got your system engineer, or the scheduling quiz that you guys took, and then there's an earned value quiz. They used to be on the test, right? And so for on the test, you guys would have had to have done that forward and backward pass on the test. And also, you'll see when we have earned value on Friday, when we do the quiz together as a group like we did before, that was on the test. Oh my God, you would have thought that we were killing people. And there was only 4 or 5 questions, so one test had the scheduling on it. There was 4 or 5 questions, but you had to do that whole forward and backward pass in order to answer the questions. Kind of the same with the scheduling. It threw the students off so bad that not only did they screw up those 5 questions, it made them screw up the whole test as well. They stressed out over 5 math questions or, a forward and backward pass that all the simple true and false multiple choice questions, they just fried their brains. So we had to take it out. We had to take it out of the test, and so that's why there's no math on the test. Math freaks people out. Right? Freaks them out. All right, so we'll go with testing. Blank in a defense systems development and acquisition program helps us reduce and manage risk. It's kind of a broad question. Test and evaluation. So one of the main goals for test and evaluation is to help you reduce and manage your risk. All right, the test and evaluation master plan is prepared by in conjunction with principal PM. Okay, so what is the PM and then the test integration working group? So show you that again. It's prepared by the PM in conjunction with principal TWIG members. Right? So the PM is responsible for the test and evaluation master plan, but he has a staff that helps, he or she has a staff that helps with that. The blank is the principal staff assistant and senior advisor to the Secretary of Defense on operational test and evaluation, OT&E, in the Department of Defense. Right? Director of operational test and evaluation, DOT&E. Testing event emphasized later in the life cycle, focused on the system and determine operational effectiveness and suitability. Later in the life cycle, focus on the system and operational effectiveness and suitability. Operational testing.
Thank you.
All right, so the key to that is effectiveness and suitability. Operational effectiveness, because who cares about that? The warfighter does, right? The warfighter cares about that. That's why it's operational test later on in the life cycle. Testing event, which is normally conducted on those tasks performed at field level and some sustainment level by user representatives. Logistics demonstration, right? So not only are we going to test to make sure that the M16 fires 100 meters and can penetrate flesh and bone up to 8 inches, right? We're also going to make sure that you can disassemble that weapon, in the time that the contractor said. You can clean it at the time that the contractor says, right? So we're going to go out there and test it from a performance, but also how long does it take to change the tire? He said it was going to take 10 minutes to change the tire. I'm going to go out there with the right person and the right tools and the right procedures, and I'm going to see if it takes 10 minutes to change the tire. So whenever we have a testing event, right alongside that is going to be a logistics demonstration. And even though that falls on your logistics line in your ACT strategy, it's still a test event. All right, what are the 2 principles of lean manufacturing? Minimization of waste and responsiveness to change. Right? And that's not just waste like we messed up and there's now we can't use this material anymore. Wasted efforts, right? So minimization of waste and responsiveness to change. And again, that is the 2 principles of lean manufacturing. All right, involves proving the design can actually produce a product that meets the customer's functional requirements in a realistic factory floor type situation. Something proofing. Process proofing, right? Again, making sure that we can actually produce the product that's going to meet the requirements, but it can also be produced on a factory floor type setting. All right, so cost of quality. There's 3 areas in cost of quality. What are they? Do you remember? Prevention's one. So appraisals, right? That's prevention. That's designing it out, making sure that there's, right? So prevention, then you got your, so prevention is making sure that there's no quality issues. Appraisals is the time we spend looking for those issues, and then correcting those failures is the time we spend, again, correcting the failures. So we don't want to spend all our time correcting the failures. We want to spend most of our time and money in the prevention and looking for the problems, not fixing them. So what are the 5 major causes of production problems? Right, unstable rates and quantities, right? If your design's unstable, that undue emphasis on schedule, inadequate configuration management, and then inattention to environmental impacts. Right? 5 top-level design goals for a producible product. You guys saw this on test 1 too. Right? Design for ease of fabrication, ease of use, ease of assembly, multi-use, minimum number of parts, maximum number of common parts, right? All right, an event-based plan that identifies the work that must be accomplished to complete the key program activities and events. Key program activities and events. Event-based plan. Right. Integrated master plan, the IMP, right? IMP, integrated master plan, usually high level, looks at the major program events, major milestones, phases, maybe some contractual requirements in there, but it's very top level, used for briefing, right? And it's a government plan. Integrated master plan is the government's plan. And the contractor has what? Integrated master schedule, which is more detailed, right? So this is the integrated master plan. What are the 5-step scheduling process? Identify the tasks, sequence the tasks, estimate the task duration, conduct a schedule or construct a schedule, and then implement the schedule. Longest path through the network. Okay, so these schedules kind of tie up the detailed schedule and those top level schedules. Right, so what's the one that's in between? Intermediate schedule. Right, so the contractor's got the detailed schedule, the intermediate schedules kind of ties that detailed up to the top level schedule, so it's the intermediate schedule. All right, the charts that depict information about significant project events focusing on specific points in time. Milestone charts. All right, so what level of the WBS has the major elements? Level 2, right? Level 2 is where the aircraft is. Level 2 is where the vehicle is. Level 2 is where the missile is. That level 1 is the entire system. That includes the aircraft, but it includes everything else as well, right? Government usually handles the first 2 or 3 levels, and then from there it goes to the contractor. What is the WBS used for? Planning logistics, establishing schedules, tracking costs, and predicting variations. All right, who develops the contract WBS? And so we do, which one do we manage? The program WBS, right, and then the contract WBS by the contract. WBS is an output from what process? System engineering. There are blank WBS categories and blank common elements. 11 and 10. All right, 3 leadership styles. Where do we fit in? Where are we supposed to? Kind of team. All the school book solutions will tell you team. 6 core ethical values. Trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. Ethics may be thought of as a set of blank for a group of people or society. Behavioral standards. And do they change?
Yes.
Absolutely they change. Right? If our grandparents were alive today, they'd be like, what are you crazy kids doing? Right? And our kids, you know, I am more accepting than my parents were. My parents were more accepting than their parents were. And my kids are more accepting of other cultures and other races and all that than I am. So generationally, I think it's changing. It's taken a long time, but I think it's changing. My grandfather, I come to realize, was not a very nice man. 3 classical decision-making models. Consequentialism, the golden rule, and Kant's absolute moral duties. All right, how much you guys bet? Blank leadership is the ideal style for most IPT leaders and team leadership. Yeah, it was right in the team. All right, blank is essential in determining a system's readiness for IoT and E. Right, developmental test and evaluation. So before you can go into operational test, you have to have passed all your developmental tests. Okay? Blank are logistical or logical means of translating broad capability needs to well-defined system spec, right, ultimately into operational effectiveness, suitability, and survivability or survivable system phases. Right. Logical means of translating that broad capability, technology maturation and risk reduction. That's what we're going to focus on this phase. Technology's matured, risks has been identified and mitigated. We go to milestone B, and now we're looking at the engineering, manufacturing, development phase, right? All right, the 5 M's are used to ensure the design can produce a uniform product, defect-free product, and a reproducible product. Right? Reproducible. A blank is an aggregation of end products and enabling products to achieve a given purpose. So what is that? A system, right? It's the end products, enabling products, and it was developed to achieve a given purpose, right? Meeting the requirements. Contractor must have a blank that meets the government objectives. Think of quality. Contractor must have a quality management system that meets the government's objectives, right? But we cannot require that contractor to have a third-party certification, right? So the contractor has to have a quality management process that meets our objectives, right? All right, so that was first part. Now this is double Jeopardy. All right, so more money. All right, so system engineering 1 and 2, risk, request for proposal, design changes, and then a little bit on our instructors. All right, blank is an interdisciplinary approach encompassing the entire technical effort to evolve, verify, integrating total life cycle bounds, blah, 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 blah. Anyone? Bueller? Bueller? System engineering. All right. Entire technical effort is the key that gives that away. All right. Name the 8 technical management processes. All right. I'm going to say this now.
Technical planning, requirements.
All right. I'm going to forget to take out that poster. Right. There's going to be at least 2 questions on the test that you can answer by just looking up at that board. If you miss one of those questions, I don't care if you're female or male, enlisted or officer, civilian, I will hit you. All right. So those are the 8. All right, and then there's 8 system engineering technical processes, stakeholder requirements, definition requirements, analysis, architectural design. Both Blank and the DoD have similar goals in product development and share key system engineering processes.
Industry.
Right, industry, contractor. Right. Okay, so here's the standard that was replaced by EIA 631 and IEEE 1220. Right, so this was that mill standard 499 alpha. That was that system engineering mill standard. It was replaced by those civilian equivalents. I know that's on the test. So. All right, so every system consists of end products and a set of enabling products. All right, what are the 3 technical processes for designing the system? So the downside of the beat, that could be another question. Stakeholder requirements, definition, requirements analysis, and architectural design. A program unique specification looks at the form, fit, and function, and method of acceptance. All right, so an item spec. So down to the minute details, that item spec. So, and I think the key to that is method of acceptance. Right? Parts, components, and other items. All right, so the blank is the government's foundation plan for system engineering activities planned for use on the project. Where's our plan?
Acquisition strategies.
System engineering plan, right, our set. A blank requirement is one that is not explicitly stated. Right. What was that? Derived requirement, right? Remember our barrel, our 36-inch barrel. It's a derived requirement. Nowhere is it stated that it has to happen, but we need it to in order to meet the objectives of the KPPs. What are the 3 key elements for a risk? What do we got to say now? These key elements, not 3. Right, identification, risk analysis, mitigation, risk mitigation plan implementation, and risk tracking. So in the PM shop, risk management can either be right centralized or decentralized. Then what are the ways that we can mitigate risk? Avoid, control, transfer, and assume. So on your acquisition strategy, if you have those 5 risks, then it should say, we're going to control this risk. And make sure you say how. Don't just put control, assume, right? Because we've had students do that. But each one of your risks, you should say, we're going to avoid this risk by doing this, or we're going to control this risk by doing this, right? Risk tracking answers the question, how are things going by communicating the risk to all the affected stakeholders, monitoring those risk mitigation plans, and then reviewing regular status updates. So that's how we know how things are going. 3 components of risk: future root cause, probability or likelihood, and then a consequence. Contracts greater than blank but less than. All right, now, so I was told that this is 5 now.
Yeah.
But if this is on the test, it's 3. Okay?
Oh my God.
Now, we'll talk about that if you mess it up, because I don't even think the other answer is 5. Right? But that's where we haven't communicated with our contracting brother lately, and so this has changed. So it is 5 and 150,000, but if it's on the test, the answer is 3,000. All right, so at least 51% unconditionally owned by one or more individuals who are both socially and economically disadvantaged. What type of business? Small disadvantaged business. Fixed price contracts have a blank risk to the government, high or low?
Low.
Low risk to the government. All right, so 3 different generic classifications of the DoD software intensive systems. All right, embedded, and AIS, automated information systems, and then your C4I, right? Command, control, communicate. Blank has the software designed into it or physically integrated into the system itself. So which kind of software is that? Embedded software, right? F-35 is a good example. The bank baseline is prepared during later parts of the EMD phase and establishes requirements for hardware, fabrication, software, and delivery. Product baseline. Later in the EMD phase, right? And then it shows a requirement for hardware, fabrication, software, and delivery. So that's all the way down to the parts and components. So that's the product, and then we use that baseline for our construction or our production contract. For configuration management functions, identification, control, status accounting, and audit. The blank is usually responsible for the product baseline or the build to level baseline and below. So the contractor. So government's responsible for the functional baseline, right? That's system spec. We developed that without a contractor, right? And then you have your allocated baseline, which is kind of in the middle for our major components, right? Most of the time we share that responsibility with the contractor in managing that baseline, but the product baseline is managed by the contractor because obviously they're the ones that are developing the system. They're the ones that are making the components with all the screws, nuts, bolts, springs, and all that. And then there's the 3 baselines. We just talked about those. Blank management involves the control and definition of the boundaries of which product subsystems come into contact with other components. Interface, right? Both internal and external interface, so interface management. All right, who walks his cat?
Spurlock.
Spurlock.
No, that's me. I never told you the story about Gary. I didn't tell you Gary?
No.
No.
All right, so my wife has this cat. Her name's Gary. All right, does anybody know why he was named Gary? SpongeBob SquarePants. Gary the snail.
Why do you know that?
Our cat sounds just like Gary from SpongeBob. But anyhow, he was an indoor-outdoor cat his entire life. He could come and go as he pleased. Spend most of his time outside, but he could come in the house whenever he wanted. So when we were moving here from South Carolina, we were selling our house in South Carolina, and we were going to buy a house here. But in the interim, I was renting a small little house right across the street here, little house in a college little neighborhood. And so I had to take Gary. I wasn't going to let him outside. We weren't going to let him outside because new environment, it was close to the highway. So I had this cat for 6 months. And all he did was go from one window and cry to the next window and cry to the next window. He wanted to go outside. So I started to feel bad for him. So I went to Petco and I bought him a little cat harness and a cat leash. You know there's such thing as a cat leash? There is a cat leash, right? But I'm not that stupid. I'm not going to walk him in the daytime. I'm going to wait till the cover of darkness, right? Gary's a black cat, right? So I get him in this harness and I put this leash on him and I make sure nobody's looking and out the door we go. And so I realized right away that you don't walk a cat. He's not going to go where you want him to go. So I was like, okay, this is your time, Gary. And I just let him go where he wanted to go. So we ended up in my neighbor's front yard. It's like 9:30 at night. My neighbor comes out. I don't really know him that well. He doesn't come out because we're in the front yard. He's coming to get something off the porch. He comes out. There's a big fat Marine standing in his yard. And I didn't know what to say, so I'm like, sorry, man, just walking my cat. I I see the smirk on his face, and he's like, okay. So he goes back into the house, and when he does, the screen door slams. Now, it wasn't because he slammed it, he was mad, it was just a bad screen door. The door slams, Gary does a barrel roll, he's out of his harness, and he's gone. And I'm like, oh no, I just lost my wife's car. And I get to the front door, and there's Gary scratching me in this house. I want him to- So that's the story about Gary. I used to tell it on the first day of class that I was walking my cat. So yeah, it's me who walks my cat. He actually saved my life, or at least I say that. We got this house in Gunnersville. It was on the lake. No one lived in it for like 4 years except for critters and stuff. So as we were getting the house ready, I left this rental house and I went to that house out there. So we had 2 dogs too. So we built a dog door through the wall so the dogs can come in and out. Now we didn't have the dogs yet, but we put in the door. So it's just me and Gary. My wife's not down here yet. The dogs aren't here yet. I probably shouldn't be living in this house yet either. And then Gary's in the bed with me, and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. Something came in the house. I think it was another cat. You know, they've been using that house to live in, you know, for so long. So found his way into that dog door and came down the hall, was coming down the hall into the bedroom. And Gary either heard him or saw him. And I don't know if you've ever heard 2 cats fighting. And if you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, to 2 cats fighting, it's like screaming, dying babies. And I was like, what's going on here? But Gary, whatever it was, I think it was another cat, Gary kicked his ass all the way down the hall, all the way outside, all the way down the yard. You could hear it. And he came back and he's all, oh, so he gets milk and cream every day. It saved my life. I don't know what that was. All right, who went to band camp?
Spurlock.
All right, so.
Oh, yeah.
All right, you guys haven't met him, but who has an 8-year-old and also has grandbabies? Jeff Harding. He used to teach some of the foundation.
Yes.
Good for him.
My brother is 51 years old and he has a 7-year-old.
Good for him.
He's now
We're playing too.
All right, who's the cat lady?
Michelle.
Michelle's the cat lady. All right, who's the biggest Alabama fans on the staff?
Latham.
And
Miss Peyton.
all right, so for Double Jeopardy, spell Kevin Zermelin's last name and then Craig Gardunia's last name.
Pass.
Yeah, never mind.
Pass.
All right, guys, that's it. Okay, so